Assalamu alaikum and welcome to season 3 of the Third Party Podcast. I'm your co-host, Rod DeVoe, and I would personally like to thank you all for tuning in and supporting us on our journey to explore faith, culture, and excellence. If you appreciate the show and want to stay updated while seeing it grow, I invite you to subscribe and follow by hitting the black subscribe button at the bottom of this video. Thank you for choosing to be a part of what we are building. On this episode, we had the pleasure of sitting down with our good brother, Ameen Akbar. Ameen is one of Philadelphia's beloved sons and has been serving the community for over 20 years. Today, we talk with Ameen about honoring his father's legacy, sacrifice as a community leader, being a girl dad, and finding faith. We hope you enjoy the show. This is Rod DeVoe, Third Party Podcast, launching season 3. Let's go.
Yo, what's up? This is your boy Mook, Islam, Third Party Podcast, season 3.
Ameen Akbar, uptown, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days. Happy to be on the Third Party Podcast.
Man, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate being here, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome.
Man. One of the things that is really easy to notice is about you and your father in that relationship.
Sure.
So your upbringing, like talk about like that upbringing, your father, and kind of like how it brought you into like Islam.
My identity is directly linked to my father, right? My idol, my role model, like my everything. And I am not here if it wasn't for the example that my father set. My father, you know, in my life every day, hugged me every day, would say things like, I love you, Ak, like literally every day. And I think about, you know, the role that I have in communities or some of the things that young people or communities say about me. And I attribute it to what I learned. Islam is certainly at the root of that. Right. My father's journey to Islam is a lot like a lot of black Muslims. He was Patrick 12X. He was Patrick 12X.
I know my dad joined.
Yeah, my father was Clarence something. But my father knows your father well, and they came up in that, you know what I mean, in that era. My father was from North Philadelphia, 24th and Berks.
So was it like the late 60s, 70s?
Yeah, my father graduated Simon Gratz in 1970. And he joined the Nation of Islam, I believe, in 71. You know, you realize at that time, like Philadelphia, folks was gang warring. My father is from the Valley, you know, and, you know, what the country was looking like, particularly, which is not too different than today, like a place for particularly black folks and black men. There was almost something I'm looking for, additional identity. I'm looking for, you know, a home, a place to be, because America has rejected me and has traditionally rejected black men, not even a part of the conversation. And, you know, I think about all of the brothers that came through the Nation of Islam, and it was very much, you know, what it means to be black in America. And my father, that message, my father was attracted to. Right. He would tell stories about traveling to Chicago to hear Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X and what the Philly contingent was like. Yeah. And they always speak, you know, you talk to some of those brothers, they always speak about like, you know, like the Philly culture. It's no different now, right? But that Philly culture, particularly when you're black and you're Muslim, always carry with a little bit different swag, always carry with a little bit, you know, a little bit different energy. And that was attractive to him. And then much like all of those Muslims at the time, the majority of those Muslims at the time, as we began to accept a more universal form of Islam, you know, certainly, you know, Malcolm going on Hajj and, you know, Imam Warthi Muhammad, you know, at the time, bridging the gap, so to speak. And those brothers kept a little bit of that, like, this is what it means to be black in America, right? So my father traveled the life of community. That was important to him. Ran basketball leagues for 3 decades, ran a Phillies RBI program at then Moreland, now Hank Gathers. I'm at 25th and Diamond, you know, ran Skills for Life's program in the early days of R.W. Brown at 8th and Columbia before Cecil B. Moore, you know, the old building underneath the bridge, and then the new building. He was instrumental, you know, in that. So every day my pop went to work, I went to work. So I saw community. I saw, you know, what it meant for, you know, particularly Black men to say, like, this is my calling. And again, have like Islam be at the base, you know, of that. Was how I was introduced.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a part of my origin story. It was important for him to name me Ameen Ibn Akbar.
Right. I remember like this boy. His name Ameen.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like from way back. You know what I mean?
Hey, Rod, I used to get the question every time in school, like, that's your real name?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my birth certificate, champ. Like, it's my real name. But I looked at it as a privilege. I looked at it as like, you know, I mean, honest, trustworthy. Like, that was the name that always regrounded me.
Yeah.
It gave me balance. Anytime I wasn't being trustworthy, anytime I wasn't being true to that, it was like a conscious look in the mirror, and I appreciate, you know, the name that was given to me, and my father certainly, you know, named me. So like, yeah, I just get that all the time. It's your name.
Yeah.
You sure that's your name? What's your daddy name?
No, you know, it's funny though, and Rod hate when we have this kind of conversation. He might cut him off the room a little bit, you know what I mean? But the same thing for me, Mukmin Islam. My name Mukmin Farouk Islam.
Yep.
You can't cut up us so much. And especially back in the day, I can imagine when it's a small Muslim community. So you Mukmin Farouk Islam is like, you got a whole light shined on you whenever you cutting up. Now, mind you, I was still a nut, but I'm just saying, like, it's always at some level it brings you back. You know what I'm saying? So I do respect the parents for doing that, because my joint the same name. My dad last name Jenkins, my mom last name Brown. Here I go, Mukmin Fruit Islam. They're like, how does it go? And I got to explain it every time. Back in the day, every time I went out the country, I had to explain it.
Yeah, my father was Patrick Parker. Patrick Delmar Parker. Delmar, right? It's wild. But he eventually got his name changed legally to Patrick Ameen Akbar. He kept Patrick because that was his father's name. And it was important for him to keep his father's name. And again, my father is who he is as a father because his father was in his life, and you know,
we just had this conversation in the car talking about names, right? And we was talking about like me legally changing my name.
Oh yeah,
we just had this, and one of the things, you know, because I really thought about doing it a couple times, but you know, I'm thinking about my mom, and I'm thinking about like it's a gift. It's like it's one of the unique gifts a parent could give a child is their name. I was like, look, man, you know, I just like I remember like my mom, like just hearing my mom say my name. It's like, nah. You know, like if you have a name that has a good meaning, then it's good. It doesn't have to, you know, necessarily be an Arabic name. But during that time, you know, Black America was trying to disassociate themselves. So it was like, nah, we're not taking these, you know, slave master type names. We taking these English names. We taking these Islamic names.
But the question is, what does your family call you? That's what matters.
So my mom actually calls me Rod.
Okay, then that's all that matters.
You see what I'm saying?
It's done.
Yeah,
because they
like
used to call my pop his first name all the time. It's like, then he, at a certain time he had to cut it off. That's all that matters.
My pop struggled with that a little bit too. Mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. My pop's like, nah, we ain't doing that. Exactly. You know, we ain't doing that. But that's part of my origin story, and a lot of brothers, you know, what I mean, a lot of brothers during that time, and they became my old heads, right? And you talk about like that was a culture, you know, and I think about like, you know, where the culture is now, and that's always going to be a part of, you know, particularly Black Muslims in the journey. You know, we weren't born with Arabic on the tongue. Right. We went to Masjid Allah growing up, and I remember being fascinated with the substance from Imam Abdul Alim, you know, who carried, you know, that same, you know, Black excellence and human excellence that, you know, sort of trickled down from Imam Warthi Muhammad. And that was a part of like my being, you know, that was instrumental and influential. And I think when you hear my father was militant, you know what I mean? Like militant growing up. So like being Black was a privilege, and he would always, and this is way before like people was talking systems talk, but like he was a turn the desk over type dude. You know what I mean? Because he was so grassroots. And, you know, I think a lot of that came in that, you know, that energy I miss a little bit. And I think the older I get, some of that is starting to come out now. It was dormant for a while because you know, you assimilate, you go to college, you do all of these things, and that stuff is starting to come out now, particularly in the times that we live.
I feel like you've had like sort of a resurgence. Ameen Akbar, you know, you got this Muslim name, you know, which which is a way, honestly, in our culture, like it kind of is like a dollar piece, right? Because people asking you what that mean. So you're in high school and you navigate in high school.
Ramadan during lunch, baby.
being Muslim. Kind of talk about that.
It wasn't as difficult as I think the narrative sometimes is. And at the root of that, I always thought about like character. I felt like a blessing. Like I felt growing up, just through how my family raised me. Not necessarily folks say like, I mean, you special, but like that's how people treated me. Right. I was the only child. Helped raise a lot of my cousins coming into the crib. And one thing I give credit, not one thing, many things I give my mom credit for is that they didn't treat me behaviorally like an only child. And it was very much like, I mean, you are obligated, right? You are obligated to share. You are obligated. I didn't have the words then, but like it was a feeling like you're obligated to show up spaces to think about others, you know? So I think part of that is the character, and that's how I was in school.
Right.
I almost felt like a leader from the beginning. I was super shy growing up, like really shy. As a matter of fact, low key, I still am shy. Like this takes a lot to do. People don't think that, but like I'd much rather be like by myself in thought. You know, so like this is a little bit of Skip coming out. My father's nickname Skip.
I call it introvert, extrovert.
Introvert, extrovert. Mook, you got it. You know,
you got to do it.
You got.
You would prefer.
I would prefer 100%. And
that's me. Because that's me too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Like you can do it.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like,
and it's like it's necessary to do it.
Yep.
Like it's like not doing it is more of a disservice than the feeling of doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's your calling, right? Like there's certain things that I feel like all right, I mean, you blessed with it. You gotta honor it now. You know, and in school it was a little bit of that. I think I went to Ivy Leaf growing up. Shout out to Ivy Leaf, Uptown. A lot of people uptown with the Ivy Leaf. Mr. and Mrs. Green. Like
you made it when you went to Ivy Leaf. These uptown, that was like
they were phenomenal black educators in the 70s and 80s, right? Phenomenal, right? And then when I after 6th grade, then I went to Masterman after that. Like I started to come out of a shell a little bit, and folks saw me as a leader. So it was like, all right, if I go on the wave, that's the wave we on.
Right.
But I never like promoted it, right? So I remember the first time I like fasted for Ramadan, and it was in the 7th grade. And I remember like 7th grade, Khalid Shakur. I wonder what Khalid doing right now. Smart brother, went to MIT. He never missed a day in school.
Right.
And I remember him and I fasting, and I remember other people like, I mean, you really not eating?
Yeah.
So, you know, like there's a common story around Ramadan.
Not even water?
Not even water. And then like throughout middle school and high school, like I played sports, right? I didn't break my fast because Hakeem the Dream was my guy.
Yeah.
If the Dream could do it, I can do it.
Hold on. You ain't break, but you ain't never had that time we ran to the water fountain and drank it. Oh shoot, I'm fasting.
I'm trying
to like 2 or 3 times playing football.
Like second. Sometimes your instincts do it.
Like,
Probably a couple times if I'm being honest. Like, and then you catch yourself, and then like being okay with stats going down. I mean, some people are like, you weren't that good anyway. Right? But you know what I mean? Whatever. But like your stats going down, my cross country time go down. You know what I mean? Like all of those things going down, and very early on. To your question earlier, Ra, other people noticing that. And through example, like, damn, I got a way about him. He ain't really tapped into Christmas. He ain't really tapped into Halloween. Like, and he like kind of cool, you know? And I think that people saw that example. Then my pop was at the school every day. And it was like, damn, the OG cool. Like, and people started to like, you know, I think attract to like whatever that energy is. And it was some tough days. Like you made fun of you, or like again, you sure you sure that's your last name. Also, teachers, you know, like mispronouncing your name, like microaggressions. Well, we didn't have the language back then.
What is that? I'm not when you're educated.
Microaggression.
So you gotta explain, Mike. What does that mean? I mean,
that's like small passive aggressive acts that kind of try to invalidate who you are, whether it's you Muslim, whether it's you black, stuff like that. And it happens a lot in schools and stuff.
So that's for the lesson. less smart people that watching this
Cut
like
it
me,
out,
because
man.
I didn't know what that meant. But thank
Cut
you.
it out.
Now you
Carry
know,
on.
Mook, because
Carry on. Now I learned something. Thank
yeah,
you.
you black and you Muslim in America, you
Thank you.
definitely had a million microaggressions.
Well, a lot of microaggressions now that
I
you
mean-
told me what the word meant. I'm fully aware.
But that was the journey in school. That's what it felt like. And then, like when I got to college, like people had always respected me. I mean, I was a captain, like most of the teams I played on. And it wasn't for like, I wasn't some like super athlete.
That role model you had, your father, just kind of put like a battery in you about what being a leader was. Because I want to talk about that because you deal with the youth a lot. And how when you see people who don't have those kind of role models and don't have that, and how they show up, because like this is a big part of how you show up and why you show up.
I think about just my friends and brothers that I grew up with. Like my block was tight.
Right.
My circle of friends were tight. And no matter what their family makeup was, my house was a convenient house. You know what I mean? Like folks looked up to my pop, folks looked up to my mom. So like I saw it naturally, and it was kind of like, again, I use obligation first. Like if I have this and this is a blessing, and I don't look at it like I'm better or like I'm more well off, but like I have a loving household, no matter what the challenges are. Like I'm obligated to share whatever that is, with my brothers, with the rest of the world. I've been doing youth development for 25, 26 years. Matter of fact, I counted the other day. I'm 47 for 28 years. I was working with young people when I was 17, 18, 19, like legitimately, And, again, I think about like the number of times that folks slept on our couch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And my pop going in different neighborhoods and folks like really respecting and loving Mr. Ameen, Skip, Park. He had all of these names, And when you grow up in a Boys and Girls Club or you grow up in a recreation center and see the kind of impact, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm obligated to share all of those things that, my father shared with me. One of the greatest sort of compliments that I've ever been, paid, is for some of my former students, for some of those folks, some of those young people are in their 30s now, that are like, I appreciate you treating me like you treat Amina, Layla, and Amaya. I say this all the time. It's a part of my belief system, as a part of my rhetoric in the youth development space. The health and safety of young people is tied to the adults in their life. That's never going to change. No matter what study you read, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandmom, grandpa, barber, stylist, mentor, coach, right? So I'm obligated to show up to that space in that way, because how I show up is directly tied to that young person, whether they have a mother or father in the house. And I tap in even harder for those young brothers and young sisters that are like, damn, I don't even know my pop. I see you as a father figure, so I tap in a little bit differently.
That dynamic of being that to everyone.
Mook, come on, baby.
But
Talk
you
to
have a
me.
family, right? I got 6 kids.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not as much in the community as I would like to as you, but professionally, we're always out here.
Yep.
How do you make sure that you can do that same and be everywhere? Because at the end of the day, we have to make our presence felt as parents, as you just mentioned, that line, which is dope. I wrote it down somewhere, but it's dope.
I got you.
So explain to us like a little bit of how you approach that as being a father and still being a
it is just the same as my father's like identity impacts me. Like I can feel the emotion in my being right now, right? Because, and again, you and I talked about this, this journey well. You spend more time, right? And I don't mean just time physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, caring for the community and others. And when you get home, you oftentimes don't have time or don't have a brain space. Like the pie chart is the pie chart, y'all.
Yeah.
There is no 101%, right? And sometimes you tapped out. And if I could say anything, especially for folks listening, that part is real. Yeah. It takes intentionality to be like, I'm going to shut it off now so I can. At my best, I'm able to do it. At my most human and worst, I'm short with the girls. Yeah. I'm short, and that's something I want to be honest. I'm going to be honest in everything I say, right? No. Catch myself like that, and the end result of that, and this is being real, right? And it's something I've been thinking about like the last 5 or 6 years, as my father's journey has changed a bit since COVID. I've been public about this. His mental health has struggled a bit,
Right.
you know, and I saw Superman,
Yeah.
right, not be Superman no more, right? And I wonder if we had the language then, you know what I mean? If we had deeper spiritual connection then, if he was a little bit more, you know what I mean? So I think about all those things because he's still teaching me lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, be present. He was present with everything, right? But it is a delicate balance because the end result of that is a little bit of like, is a bit of emptiness, right? And I never want to, and I'm conscious about this too. The thing that you love to do the most when it comes to community brings satisfaction to you, right? And no matter what you do, if it doesn't have the proper balance, you are imbalanced, right? You know, and I think about
somebody suffer, right?
Someone is somebody suffering, and it's typically I see what you do at City Athletics, and it is typically because we were raised. We got to be stewards of the community. We're obligated, and then those moments that you know that you look in, you put your head on the carpet, you look in the mirror, whatever that solitude is you have. Is what I try to be, and this is a practice, is what I try to be conscious about and have that conversation with myself. There's a lot of asking the law for like, am I on the right path?
You got to.
You know, and there's a little bit of balance. And I'm not saying I strike that balance at all, Mook.
Nah.
I'm not saying that at all, brother.
I think you and I share something where, similar to you, maybe not mentally, but I seen my father go from this giant to now being a different person.
Yeah.
And you are going from being the one he's protecting to now having to protect them. And it's hard.
I don't want to say public, I love your father, man.
But, appreciate it. But it's difficult sometimes.
Yep.
So now you got to change that. So I think about that now with my son. See, I got 6, but I got 4 boys. So I think more so about like that question of how do I go out here and do what I'm trying to do for them, but still be there for them. So that way, if that dichotomy changed, like I think we all personally wanted to do that, but it may change. You know, this generation, they might be like, F that, you wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Or it may not be that connection. So I think it's important to just, what you said was dope, to check in, but try to shut it down to be there. And I think, you know, God willing, we do it well. We would never know until, you know, hopefully with the next life, maybe best.
Right.
But it's just that you trying your best, and that's the goal.
I think you really have to be intentional because oftentimes we wind up hurting the people closest to us. Right?
Never lie, boy. Projection real.
So it's like, you out here in the world, and the crazy part is not the crazy part, but the deep part about it is that, like, your family, like they love that part about you. You know what I mean? Like they love that you out here, that you dedicated to the community, that you giving back.
That's why they marry you.
That you pouring in, and you know sometimes you pour out till you all pour it out, and you got you short sometimes, or you ain't, you're not paying attention the way you know. But just being aware of that is worth something. Just being aware.
That's true.
At my best, I'm aware, right? And it's a constant.
That's true.
It's a constant journey. But I mean, it's part of the grind. It's part of the struggle. It's part of, and again, speaking of Islam, it's like, all right, at my best, I mean, you got to tap back in. You're a little bit distant. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a bit of a regrounding, which is, which is, I'm sure it's a lot of our struggles at times.
You had his Muslim father, Muslim name, you've been the only one for a long time. And then the boom hit. And now in Philly, you probably had friends that would tease you in 7th grade. Now you come back and you Muslim? Talk about like just noticing that and seeing that from your perspective. Because even me, when I knew you in high school, like I wasn't Muslim.
It's a great question.
Talk about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about it in a few different spectrums. One, it makes me happy. I've learned, you know what I mean? Like some things, sometimes you take your Islam for granted. I use an I statement. I took Islam for granted, and saw the new energy coming, right? And learned, like, man, I remember I walked to Masjid Allah for the first time by myself. I didn't go to Jumu'ah with my pop. I went by myself, and that was like a thing for me.
Right.
Walk all the way up from Wadsworth down to Lamkin Pike. Like, that was a thing for me. Like, I feel good. Right. And I look at the beauty and the explosion of, of the young brothers and sisters that took Shahada and like, and I don't mean look the part in a bad way, but like I want to absorb, I want to be, I want to, you know what I mean? Because there's a range of looking the part, right? Which we can unpack too. So that part makes me feel good. There's a bit of guilt in there, in that, like, especially when I see some young brothers and sisters that go a little bit off kilt, like, you aren't present. Like, they're missing the character somewhere to be like, or missing, like, this is what it means to be black in America, and this is what it means to have Islam as a foundation, and this is what it means to be excellent. Like, role model wasn't enough. You should have been a little bit more Islamically sound, so folks could tap in with you. They're not getting the whole message, because you were insecure about your Islam. You know what I mean? If I'm being real, you know. And then there's and I'm not trying to paint these as a binary, right? These are all emotions that I feel. Other end of that spectrum, it'd be like, yo, I think we losing our way a little bit. Like, what's up? You know, and again, this is not a binary. This it could be a percentage. It could be whatever. But I think about all those emotions and what my responsibility is to that. Sometimes I'm able to meet it. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes, again, like anybody else, I'm in the struggle like everybody else with their own Islam. You know, so I think about all those things.
I was gonna say the same thing. You know, for you, like, you grew up Muslim family, y'all was like the only ones for whatever period of time, and then you see this explosion.
But I think there's a misnomer about what a Muslim is, and I think especially in America, see, I think there's always this perception you have to be Arab or you have to be some other culture, and one of the things I always say is to people, I was talking to somebody before, they're like, why would you go to a restaurant? Why would you go to a bar? That's dawah. You don't think about it, but you know what I mean? Some people, you drink? No, I don't drink. I'm good. Well, why? And I got to go explain that. So what I'm saying to you is, like, I think part of it, even the Prophet ﷺ, I tell everyone, people love to talk about the Sunnah, but they only talk about Medina. Well, Medina was all Muslim. That was their area. They controlled it. What about when he was in Mecca? What about when he didn't control? What about when he was a minority? Even when it was public, they infiltrated and was a part of the community. So I think it's a part of, I tell everyone, I think being Muslim is who you are as an individual. I think that's the best dawah you can give. So sometimes you're not going to be screaming out like, my name Mukmin Islam. Everybody knows it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. So we have, even when you feel, my point of saying is that you might have felt like you're weak or some aspect you wasn't carrying it, but you were probably, I'm willing to bet, still ahead of the peers that you were around, because your name is Ameen Akbar.
Yeah, for sure.
So to some extent, you feel bad when you're doing some stuff.
For sure. You never lie. For sure.
So I think it's a level of just being like yourself, but carrying that, your personality and what you bring in as far as just your adapt, just your character itself. And because your faith is always going to fluctuate. Because as we get older, we think about our faith with our kids and everything else. But when you're 20s, you're not thinking about that.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Moving and shaking.
But on the same note, it was some level where you're like, I ain't going that far. And that's the character is what I'm saying. So it's levels to it all. But I just think you just got to be the best you. And inshallah, as you grow, if you're able to make it that long, you can be able to tap in and hopefully repent. But not only just repent, and just understand and build upon what you did have.
And that part I feel good about, right? And Mook talking that talk right now. Like when you talk about, like, you know, easy to be Muslim in Medina, right? And those were the things that, like, I feel like was the messages at Masjid Allah. Like, you in this place right now, and Islam is new to you as a people. How do you then show up? You know, in that space, you talking that talk.
So I made Hajj in 2008, and
Kurt arrived.
I made Hajj.
He burning you out again, right?
You brought it up earlier.
It was one of the most affirming experiences that I ever had. Any doubt about like being Muslim, and are we doing, like, do we need to look like this or sound like this? All went away. Just gaining that was just extremely monumental. It's a reason why you should go, because, you know, not to say anything about any particular group of people, but no group of people is the majority when you're on Hajj. You could see 1,000 Nigerians, and they not the majority. You could see 1,000. The people that live there aren't the majority during Hajj. The little bit of things that we don't value as Black Muslims go so far. I mean, I'm talking about being applauded by people from all nationalities about how we carry it, how serious it is to us. Just the smallest things that, you know, we over here acting like.
To your point real quick, what you notice though is all those different communities, Indonesia, Malaysian, et cetera, they all stay themselves. They their own community and their personality.
They're not trying to imitate.
They're not trying to imitate nothing else. Except the black. Except the black man. That's what I'm saying. Not even the Nigerians. The Nigerians are clearly Nigerians.
I mean, they all this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting.
Touched on being insecure about your Islam at one point. Think of a time when you like chose, for people that's not born Muslim, they take Shahada. But for people that are born Muslim, you still have to choose what you want to do.
Oh, for sure.
So think of a time that you chose to be Muslim, to be who you are.
Hey, I got the choices and the non-choices, right? I use that example of like playing sports in Ramadan, and in particular, it was my freshman year at Penn State Ogons at the time, now Penn State Abington. And I was a freshman on the team. I was starting, you know what I mean? And Ramadan came in December then, like during the season. And it might have been 3 black guys on the team. Right. So certainly, like, we got a lot of black guys. You got no Muslim. Yeah. You're playing in the Penn State League, which is, you know, Schuylkill. Right. Schuylkill, we had black guys in Schuylkill, but like Burks, and you go out far. Right. Yeah, okay. So it was none of that. And I remember my coach, Mr. Barton, at the time, he pulled my dad to the side, and he was like, does Ameen have to fast? Right? And my father was like, talk to Ameen about that. Right. Like he's gonna do that. He's been fasting all through high school, you know what I mean, since middle school. Like he's gonna continue to do that. And like I fasted during the season. I'm not tripping, but like I was averaging probably like 12. You know what I mean? This ain't no high level basketball, but I'll give my 12 points though. All right. It might have went down to like 8. Right. But and then my teammates were like, yo, he's legitimately practicing the water. When it's time to break fast, go off to the side, and I got something to the side. And I did that the whole month during the season. And my teammates now, who we're all in our 40s, and my coach, I remember he wrote me our first recommendation letter, and he's like, I mean, you were the first player that I had who had other teams knew I was fasting, who had the mutual respect of opponents and your teammates, because of the fact that you were so dedicated to your faith and belief system, right? That was a moment, or that was one of many moments, when I say choose, that was one of the many moments like, alhamdulillah, I made this choice. And like Allah giving you a gift, and you better honor that gift, because other folks are seeing you. And those are those moments that are seminal, you know, to me, that like, and again, clearly you see a model like Hakeem Olajuwon doing it, so that's a little bit of different energy. But like, even if Hawk wasn't on TV, it was a little bit of that, like, made me, you know what I mean, made me feel good, and like as a choice, as an active choice to go do that, I think about often. You know, that's monumental and pretty instrumental. And like, yo, I can be me. You know, I can make the choice to do these things, and you know, and other people recognize that. And then I think I was able to, in that example, able to bridge some gaps, you know, for folks my white teammates that went to school in Bucks County, and you know, that like felt pretty good, and know that like Islam was at the center.
We talk a lot about your past, and we talk about everything. But, you know, I want to make sure the audience know why you're here. Like, talk about your we skirted around the community stuff. Let's go in that. Like, what exactly has been your passion? What have you been doing the past few years? Talk a little bit about that. I know we talked earlier about YouthBuild, which I think is a great program. So I want to give you a platform to tell us a little bit about what you're doing over there, because I think that's really something that people need to know. Yeah,
it almost sounds crazy to be like 28 years in youth development. I call it the family business, and I'm second generation family business. You You know, like I started off like a camp counselor at 17, 18 at Brewer and Gerard, citywide improvement and planning agency. You know what I mean? Like I remember those days early, and that propelled. I got a business degree. Right. You know what I mean? With a minor in human development, family studies. You know what I'm saying? But I got a business degree from Penn State. I went to Smil College of Business. Like they told me that was a big deal, but it was like I ain't want to. It didn't feed my soul. You know. So I started off coming out of school. I did sales and marketing recruitment from the rip. Made some decent money, but it wasn't feeding me because I was coaching, helping my pop with the league at Dorothy Emanuel, always tapping back in. And I was like, I'm done with this. My guy who owned the company at the time was a small black staffing firm. He was like, man, you don't like money enough. Go ahead and save them kids. My man Keith, shout out to Keith, was like, come here, I got you. He ain't going anything. So my man Keith, I got you. Come on, boom. And then I would get all the kids, like everybody else, I would get all the kids in the back. And the teacher was like, do you take them? Yeah. And I was like, all right, you know what I mean? I can do this as a career. Spent a lot of time in the juvenile justice system. Right after that, I was working with young men and their families coming in our juvenile treatment facilities, George Jr., Abraxas, St. Gabe's, Vision Quest, that whole nine. So I ran that gamut for a little bit. And then I was introduced to YouthBuild in 2005 by one of my former colleagues at the time doing social work. He knew how much I loved school, like growing up. Not the classroom, let's be clear. No, I love being in school and around people.
So you had to like the classroom a little bit, bro.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm telling you. I went to like Northeast, like a regular school. We
can break down Masterman after this, and I'll give you some real rap about like Masterman, right? How we were separated after ninth grade. Right, and how I didn't feel like I belonged. Wow. Right, you know, in Masterman. Right, but I appreciate the environment because it was like. Some still my friends. Like it was a dope environment. I say that to say like he knew I loved school, and he was like, I mean, a social work job about to open up, case manager job about to open up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I interviewed to be an English teacher. So I had to do first time I ever did a class demonstration. You know, it was terrible.
What was it on?
How to do a resume. I was way off. I'm surprised they ain't laughed me out the joint, right? But it was like, honestly, you're not a teacher, but the class was amazing, right? And we work with young people 18 to 21 who didn't go a traditional route, right? About 2 weeks later, a case manager job opened up. Tell you how things are destined, you know, for you, and the power of a law, and those things are written for you, right? And came back, come in for an interview. We think you're going to be good, but coming for an interview. When I got off the elevator, Nyasha Vick, she lost her life in a fire maybe about 10 years ago. She's part of my YouthBuild Y. Wow. I got off the elevator, and she said, I went by brother, they called me Brother Akbar back then. She was like, hey, Brother Akbar, I hope you get the job. I didn't know who Nyasha was. I didn't even know the kids, the young people in the classroom. And I said, if young people care this much about an interviewee, they must love the staff. I need to be in this joint, right? And she's part of my YouthBuild Y, and you know, and all of those young people who had, you know, their narrative was that they dropped out. We used to call them dropouts back in the day, and that was probably the least important thing about their journey. You know, and we know a lot about system stuff, and they were pushed out. You know what I mean? Really archaic and punitive rules around discipline and behavior. You know, that is just crazy. And our young people were some of the most gifted, talented young people who needed another opportunity, right? So I cut my teeth at YouthBuild. Started out as a case manager. The next year later, I became dean of students, right? The person left. I didn't even say I was going to interview for the job. The students in that class of 2007 signed a petition like, if anybody else going to be dean of students, they need to be Akbar, right? Dominique Williams, I'll never forget Dom, man. It's my man. He got like a restaurant in Delaware right now. Handed the petition, and I was going to interview. They didn't know, but they signed the petition. And then after that, I think I propelled because I had the pulse of young people. I had the pulse of the building. We didn't technically have a principal structure, you know, and it was every year. And I changed the discipline policy.
I can hear the passion.
Oh man, I cut my teeth. I cut my teeth there. And I changed the discipline. I'm a restorative practitioner, you know what I mean, by nature. And some of our discipline rules at the time were so punitive, right? And this was an opportunity. Young people were running to the building, right? These are the same young people that the system said were never going to be good students, right? And learning is an exchange to me. right?
Yeah,
Why they may say like, I learned to learn from you. I learned the most from young people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the young people that the system had given up on, you know? So that was a 14-year career, and I ended up running an AmeriCorps program and all of that. Part of that journey too, y'all, is I lost 24 young people in 14 years. Right? Sean Bolton, mom call, Mr. Akbar, Sean, he lost his life. And you get them calls from moms. And I could see Sean sitting in my yellow chair. My yellow chair was like, I didn't know trauma-sensitive practices. My yellow chair was like a chair that like, we gonna calm down.
Safe space.
Safe space. You can cuss, you can do whatever you want. And we gonna process in here. And I can see Sean's picture right now. Chucky, I can see Chucky. Can you speak at this funeral, Akbar? Like, to your point earlier, I didn't realize that stuff was taking a toll on me. I couldn't even see the graduates that we had every year because I was hurt. And it's not like students I passed through in the hallway. These are intimate conversations, right? These are intimate. Some of our young sisters, like, Akbar, you the first man in my life that didn't want nothing from me.
So the youthbuild environment, it's like a smaller.
We took in about 200. We accepted about 220 young people every year.
Okay.
So and we had this process called mental toughness. So we would get maybe 600, 700, 800 applications, and you go through a 2-week process of like coming every day, reestablishing behaviors, and then we ended up, with about 230 each year.
And you working closely with
every day, community meetings every morning, intimate conversation, and I was responsible for discipline, right?
Right.
So in case they don't know, explain to what the youthbuild was, because it technically was like almost like a trade school.
Yep.
It was an alternative school.
Alternative school. So youthbuild was one of the first charters in the state of Pennsylvania in the early 90s, right? But because it was a niche charter, like dropout rate was 60%, 50%, all that kind of stuff. And young people were 18 to 21. So it really wasn't a place for you to go to still get your high school diploma. So we certified by the state of Pennsylvania, a high school diploma, and you got a trade. So half the time in the classroom, half the time in the trade. And before then it was heavy construction, right? And then we added nursing, we added healthcare, childcare, like business administration and diversified. And you came out after a year program with a diploma and a trade and a certification.
Right. So back in the day, Universal, when they started off, they used to use them. They had a contract with them, and they would come in and do demo houses, build out houses, outfit houses. So back to what we was talking about earlier about the young bulls, we was talking about who now got electricity. They would get those type of certificates.
Universal was one of the first partners that YouthBuild had. Rehab, full gut rehab of houses because they were AmeriCorps members. That was part of their community service. Right. And you get an education award after it, and we needed community partners to be able to. Young people were doing the work, and being taught at the same time.
So the 220, that's the total number.
Total in each graduation class. Yeah.
Wow, and you working with these kids, so you getting familiar, knowing a little, you see them in the morning,
knowing all of it. And one of the things that, like, again, as a restorative practitioner, like, I care a ton about climate and culture, and I learned a lot because I had the keys to the car. I was trusted, by, then I became administration, but like trusted by administration at the time, and I was able to set, and we were able to set culture, in a way that was different, that I think that thought about young people as assets and not deficits, and knowing that whatever traumas or challenges you had is only a part of your story. Right. And how do you create environments for young people to be able to tell who they are, and then also help young people see a world that they can be. That comes from, creating a condition,
Let me ask you this. Do you see something different from just like a Muslim kid knowing that, the dean or one of the administration has a name like Ameen Akbar? Yep. Do you?
I look like they uncle.
Right.
I used to have a little bit. I had hair then, but it was like, who the boy with the beard? Yeah, like representation matters. Like if I can see somebody that look like me, and like I ain't tripping, and he ain't corny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He look like a bull.
Because they used to people like that look down on them because being in schools as well. But the thing I think I liked about the YouthBuild the most was that you mentioned people who had like really got kicked out of school. It was a lot of people who got pushed out because of things that pregnancy.
Yep.
You know, back in the day, you pregnant, you had to sit down.
Yep.
They wouldn't let you back into school. You know, now it's all legally protected, but back in the day it wasn't. People with drugs in the family couldn't deal with it. You know, all types of random stuff I met from the young bulls who would be doing the houses, talking to them, and they had second chances, and that was dope.
Here's another thing about me that again I got from my pop. My pop used to be like, every thug want to be hugged.
That's true.
Right. And it was part of how I showed up. I used to go to court with young people. And again, I don't want to make this like I wasn't the only one, right? But used to go to court for young people.
Say that again.
Every thug want to be hugged, right? And what he was really saying was like, no matter what your image is, teen mom, thug, hustler, no matter what that is, you got a story in there, right? You know, when I think about Islam, it was love. When I think about my household, it was love. You know, at the end of that. And I hugged young people every day in that joint.
I heard you say that. You said that your father told you he loved you and he hugged you.
Right. I had him doing men's group. I had him doing a men's group twice a week at youthbuild.
Oh,
right?
Hey,
them young boys love my pop. It gave me even more credibility. We were intentional about when we crossed each other in the hallway to hug. Intentional about that. You know, I wanted our young sisters, I wanted staff, I wanted our young brothers to see that no matter what this is, no matter if you got a dad or not, or mom or not, you can see two men embrace that way. And it made it a lot easier for my thugs that they want to be hugged. They're like, come here, man. And you can feel the disarming a young people.
It's a book called Promises Kept. Author, she's from Philly. Last name Beard. I can't remember her first name. And it's a study that she cites where it says that black males are the least likely to be loved. They're the least likely to be told that they something positive, and they're the least likely to be hugged.
Yeah, that goes all the way up to adults too.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't it though?
Yeah, but I even think about like just the Muslim community and when the brothers hug. You know what I mean? The handshakes that we gave each other before we entered the building, like that stuff is real. It's an exchange of spirit. It's an exchange of energy, and our young people need that.
It's a hadith, and I'm paraphrasing.
It's cool. I ain't checking.
I'm paraphrasing, but it's a man that tells the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he doesn't like hug or kiss his son, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talks about how he feels bad that Allah took that part of mercy from him. So you know, like that exchange, man, like you know, and it's interesting to hear because you do have a dad that grew up in the 60s, 70s. And, like, it was tough times.
Yeah.
Like, it was tough times, but for him to be able to keep that and pass that on, man, that's special.
Yeah, it's a part. And again, what I say is, like, at my best, I don't take it for granted. And when I have taken it for granted, Law tapped me on the shoulder and continues to do so. Through messages, through the choices. And that brings me back to center, like, brother, what you want to do with this gift, my man?
But I think that's a blessing, though. I think that's a blessing to God, however you look at it, is that at this age, you can feel that tap and you can respond to it.
Yep.
Because a lot of people feel and push that joint away and keep it moving. And then that's the thing I'm trying to teach my sons. Like, you get that, you're going to get the guidance. It's just, do you listen to it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like, how many times you might have, baby, in your youth build, boys tell you, oh, something told me not to go in there.
Yeah, all the time.
Something told me not to do this. Right? But they ain't listen to it. So I think that's the part that we got to be appreciative that God not only gives it to you, but he allows you to listen to it.
I ran into you at a PYB event. And, you know, like we always been cordial talk, man. But this time I ran into you, it was something different. I'll be honest. Like the conversation.
I need to hear that too. I need to hear that,
It was something different. And it kind of made me like just pay attention a little bit more. And, you know, not that it's because of PYB, because I definitely want to talk about that. But I feel like, you know, you at a stage where like you have like this resurgence. We talked about like mental health and being positive. You know, talk about like the role of mental health and just this resurgence and the passion that it seemed like you moving with a different passion right now.
I appreciate it. I need to hear that sometimes. Simply put, I was trying to like practice my own calling, right? I was trying to practice all of the things I was taught, and some of that, like people in my life recognized and was like, I mean, you're not good. You know what I'm saying? Janae said that to me. You're not good. You know, Lauren said that to me. Like, I mean, you're not good. You know, folks that know me intimately that I work with, like, I was showing up the youthbuild 60, 70%. And I knew it. And folks was like, man, that was great. And I knew it. There were times, and I'm be transparent about mental health and wellness. I always parked a couple of blocks away from the building because it was part of my process. I walk, I got to get right. Young people and staff members need to see me on 10. Will Cole say, if I show up on 9, I ain't there. Yeah. Like I got to be on 10, right? And that, because the community is deserving of that. There were times in my last couple of years, because I didn't recognize the traumas that was happening and the vicarious traumas that was happening, that I would park, walk halfway, and walk back to the car and drive back home. And then make up something of why I couldn't go to work, right? Yeah. It hurt to say that sometimes. So then I went to therapy. Yeah. And I found a Black therapist who's just amazing. Yeah. And the first question, and again, this is somebody we got Islam, we got, you know, and I was making it a binary as opposed to including. Right. Yeah, I was making it a binary, you know? And he was like, he asked me 2 questions. He said, what do you want written on your tombstone? And he said, do you want your children to follow the same thing you did? And it threw me off because here's somebody who idolized their father, loved my mom, and he started to unpack, like, what are the things that you don't want to replicate that they did, or their behaviors? Oh, you talk what? What are you talking about? You got me talking about mama. You got me talking about the things that I don't want to address. And then, like, how do you want to be? And then got me to unpack a little bit. It's like, I mean, you need community. Like, you need it, right? You almost need it in an unhealthy way. Yeah. You know? So I went to therapy, right? And some of that was, when you saw me, some of that was a healing journey. Yeah. And during the time, like, life wasn't going well. Quarantine hit. I knew I was gonna leave youthbuild because it was like, I need a break. I was doing some consultant work, quarantine hit, life changed, my father's life changed, my aunt passed away. You know what I mean? Like, I was the Akbar household. If I fold, everybody fold. And I mean that facetiously, but like, I'm an anchor, you know, in that joint, right? And I started to be like, well, Dad, if you fold and you're not addressing the reasons why you might be folding, what good are you to your family? Yeah. And then I appreciate this brother. He got me. He was like, you wrote down everything and you missing spirituality on the things you wrote down. And I thought about, like, oh no, I had a good Ramadan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being real with you, you know? And he said, you missing, and because of the environment, I had to be ready. Was able to, like, connect that in a way to, like you said, Mook, like, I'm able to tap in, you know what I mean, in a different way. Like, I hear it. Let me address it a little bit. And some of that was, I had to go to some places that weren't necessarily comfortable. Some of that was, like, I had to question the thing that I hold true about growing up. What are those things that I don't want replicated? What are those? How am I not showing up emotionally for Amina, Layla, and Amaya? And I ain't saying I got the answers, y'all. Right. I don't want anybody listening to this to be like, I got the answer. Yeah. I'm saying it's part of the process. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's part of the process. And you know, like, what you saw was a coming out of that. You know, like, I think what you saw was, like, some new energy. And I think, like, being a part of a organization and program that was like, all right, we about to get a building, and
you need that community. So
you need that community. You know, I didn't realize I was looking for a home, and then the home, you know what I mean, kind of found me. And you know, I think that's what you saw in there, and also me reconciling, like, all right, I mean, like, this is what your mom and pop did. They was holding it down. Brother, it's your turn. My pop would say, when least expected, you will be elected. It's your turn. My pop got all the sayings. They got all the sayings. It's your turn. And if you're not right, you can't take the turn, you know? And again, I'm not saying I got all the answers, y'all. I want to be clear.
I know what you're talking about. But just to your point, I think that's the key in life. It's not that having the answers, always be questioning.
Yeah. Oh,
if you just keep questioning
talk to me.
At some point you're gonna feel like, all right, like if you question how to go down a certain road to get to a certain place every day, you at some point gonna find a faster way.
Yeah.
Because you questioning it. So I think that's the goal, man.
The beauty is in the jihad. The beauty is in the struggle. The beauty is in the questioning. And
I don't know if it's beauty, but I think beauty. Only why I say beauty is because what comes out of it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because when you in
that, bro,
you're right.
It ain't beautiful, man. That's your rough. That's your rough.
I try to put some flowers on that jaw.
So when I think about you, I also think about being a girl dad.
Yeah,
talk about being a girl dad, and because it's the stigma that if you're a certain kind of guy, you're gonna get daughters. But daughters is such a blessing, bro.
I'm gonna say we going there.
No. I got 4 daughters, so listen, it's a stigma around
Let me unpack what that is, sir.
But to me, it's like it's so many blessings and having, to kind of touch on something else you talked about this new language.
Yeah,
man, I had to learn new language mainly because of my daughters. Because when they come to you with a thing, you want to show up in a way that they will continue to come to you with things. You know what I mean? Because if you don't and you shut, you don't want to be outside the circle.
That's your shock, boy.
So,
well, I'm outside the circle, so I'm listening.
So I mean,
my 16-year-old, I'm outside the circle. So I'm paying attention.
So just the whole girl dad thing, man. Talk about that.
I always wanted to be a father.
Yeah.
Right? I think about my little cousins. Shout out to Hassan and Khadijah. They were like my first entrance, I was taking Hassan with me, 19, 20. I was in college, come back home, he with me. I took Khadijah to go see the Rugrats up Grant Avenue. That was like a thing. You know what I mean? Like open a car door for her. Like, I wanted her to see that because her father, my uncle, was like instrumental, you know what I mean? Like in my life. And it's not necessarily about my uncle, but like a lot of other influences too. That wasn't my father, right? Yeah. Talking about hustlers, people in the street. You know what I mean? I learned a ton from also. So like, I wanted to be a dad like early, right? And, one of the more challenging things is that when Amina was born, Janae and I, like new parents. And she had a bunch of developmental delays, And, you the new parent, you like, what did I do? And then, if anybody's on the spectrum, I have a intellectual development delay or any of these delays, she had all of these milestone delays. And then our friend Tasha, who went to Masterman, is a nurse at CHOP. She's like, if there are 2 or more delays, then you should check for a genetic disorder, right? Did check for genetic disorder, and Amina was a year old. We found out she had Williams syndrome. And Williams syndrome is a deletion of your number 7 chromosome, right? And has certain facial characteristics. Socially, may seem a little bit like awkward or different. Facial characteristics and all that. And, it was a moment where you question, like, Dad, I thought we did a grind. I did a lot. Like, what's up? And I never forget my aunt, my mom's sister was like, maybe Allah wanted you and Janae to be the parents of somebody special. And it was like this quick snapback of like, all right, it's better to be special than normal. It's better to be unique. And there was a learning lesson. And if that's your first child, I say that to say, like, I cherish that. I cherish that differently, and made a ton of mistakes as a parent, and made a ton of mistakes in a relationship, and made a ton of mistakes, in that process. And I think about, it was like, yo, we don't even know if Amina gonna hold the pencil, and now she a senior.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I appreciate everything that she is. I appreciate the journey that we were on. I appreciate the journey of my family who was like, no, she all right, she all right. But Janae and I know.
Yeah.
We know.
Parents.
Like we know, and like what it takes, even through our most frustrating periods, because she's a social justice warrior. She's amazing. you know, and you know that translates to, you know what I mean, to Layla, who is a little bit more normative, whatever that means.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like whatever that means, you know. And then Amaya, you know what I mean, is, you know, all of them think that they only children. You know what I mean? Amaya's in city athletics, and like she thinks she a little athlete.
She is, man.
You know what I mean? So like all of them bring me joy, and I think about like what I do with and for my parents now, and how that is paid back, and how that is like, man, I hope that I'm doing I pray that I'm doing the job I'm supposed to, because there may be, and it could be a moment where my children need to take care of me.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like I'm in that position now. And again, everything about Islam taught me to be a dutiful son.
Yeah.
And how I show up to that space. And, you know, they maybe think like they're only children now, but like I pray that they become dutiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to me, and I feel privileged to be a father of daughters.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel privileged. You know, folks will be like, "Oh, you gonna get a son?" First of all, it ain't my decision. It's the law's will. I don't even want to enter that.
Still got time.
Yeah, no, I'm done. It's over. It's chalk. It's chalk. It's chalk. It's chalk.
No, but to your point, man, I think, you know, my oldest has Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that first kid, you got all these.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful thing because you got all these aspirations, you got these plans, you got what you're going to do, and then it just bang, it hit you.
Yep.
And, like, what you going to do? And she had to have heart surgery first, coming out, right out. Like, we luckily took her home for a week in the hospital next month. And alhamdulillah, she just graduated high school
Alhamdulillah.
with a regular degree.
Yeah.
So not even like, you know, the special, you just attended like a regular. So I say that to say what you said is, I was talking to somebody, I said, for somebody said, I'm smart. I said, for you to call yourself smart is stupid to me because it's relative. It's like you're saying I'm handsome. Relative to what? And to your point, like what is normal? And that's the thing I think, having that special need to teach you that there is no such thing as normal.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's everybody has their own mission. Everybody has their own journey. And you accept it for it. And that was hard. Especially at first. You got all the plans, right? And it just don't come out. And you like...
All the plans.
All the plans. And
she gonna hoop. She gonna... we gonna do all that. And I've learned more from her.
Facts, man.
Now, and especially who she is right now, just has her own opinion. Again, she's a social justice warrior. She cares about most every issue and will tell you. And I appreciate her identity. I know she doesn't mind me sharing this. I cried about a year and a half ago. She did a presentation for her school, her class, about Williams syndrome. So she owns her identity of having Williams syndrome. And again, I'm surprised.
Out of boohoo.
Yeah, I did. I was crying, and I'm surprised I haven't cried on here. Like I
boohooed plenty.
I cry because it's emotional, but like that matters to me. In that, like, you know.
You know the worst thing though is about how other people view them.
Yeah.
It ain't even no more about like
it ain't
them.
It ain't.
It's how other people. That's the thing that the scariest thing about when you have a child with special needs, especially when it's visible.
Yep.
It's like how other people going to view them in society.
We asked them to change for the world, and we never asked the world to change for them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ever.
Yeah.
You know, and again, we like what's gonna happen at the high school.
Yeah.
Like we think about all that, but you know, I'm never not gonna trust the law's will. Like never not. And even when I question it, it's like let me come back to foundation somewhere, because like is bigger than you, you know. And again, I that brings me back to balance during those moments. I'm a little like, what's up, man? Like, what's this about?
I absolutely appreciate you being vulnerable and just saying the. You know, sometimes we don't even want to say the thought. And so a lot of the thoughts, and, you know, because they're not always complete, but it's a real thing. It's a real thought, you know, that you have, you know, and I can only imagine, you know, just some of those thoughts, but just around everything that we talked about.
Can I tap in with that word vulnerability for you real quick, especially when it comes to black men? You know, it's the buzzword of the last half decade, right? We're gonna have another buzzword around there. And I was doing some teacher training at a school. I was doing some consultant work. The brother changed my association with vulnerable, right? And he was like, how can everybody asking me to be vulnerable around this joint, but I don't trust the space. He said, I can only be vulnerable if the space is safe enough for me. And as a black man, when we were vulnerable in this country, we were taken advantage of. You know why I'm able to say that? Because I trust the space right now.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? You make the space.
That means a lot.
You know?
I mean, that's that's one of the things that we absolutely want to create a space where people could tell their stories and be safe. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that.
I'm sure somebody got a problem with what I say, but like, okay, with this is safe.
It's always a problem.
So yeah, man. So all right, so you know, towards the end, man, we try to lighten it up a little bit.
Right, I'm just getting started, baby. What's up now?
Listen, I knew this was gonna be great because you know, just what you willing to put out to benefit others is amazing, and I admire it and I appreciate it. And it's people, you know, I'm always saying, am I doing enough? And there's certain people I look at, like, man, I gotta do more. You know, am I, you know, creating a space? Am I, you know, mentoring enough? Am I coaching enough? Am I, you know, giving back to the community enough? So, you know, certain people I look at, I'm like, oh man, look at this dude, man.
Well, Amaya love the space you create because she love y'all. She love Costume. Right. She at that joint.
She be in that joint.
Damn, I thought you were gonna say it was gonna be great because I was here.
Look, don't let him do that to you.
Yeah, I'm sure 3 times a year.
I'm enjoying this though.
Like 2 or 3
this
times
like a thing. I enjoying this. When y'all got out the car, I'm like, yeah, this is good. That's a thing.
We show up 2 or 3 times. I gotta be.
So, who was your favorite? I'll say favorite, just because I don't, you know, just context of the word. Your favorite coach, and you can define favorite by what they meant to you or what that means to you right now. Your favorite coach.
It's a great question, man. It's a great question. I'll tell you one in particular. So I talked about my father. A lot. So I won't say him. And this is somebody that didn't necessarily coach me.
Okay.
My father played at Simon Gratz in 1969, 1970. He played for John Chaney. John Chaney was before he went to Chaney State and before he went to Temple. Right. And I think about what he taught my father then, right? And how that translated to not just me, but the however many thousands of young people that my pop had an impact in life. I'll give you one more layer of that. Because it's just more than just a coach. And Marcus Foster was instrumental in my father's life. He was my father's principal at Simon Gratz. We know Marcus Foster Field, but he was one of the leading black male educators, right, in the 60s and 70s. Shout out to Sharif. We need more black teachers. In the Center for Black Teacher Development, right? But those were like leading black male educators at the time. He went on to become the first black school superintendent in Oakland. Right? First free lunch program in Oakland, like that kind of stuff. These were coaches of my father. Right. And I say this to say, like, I don't exist in a vacuum. Yeah. What young people receive from me comes directly from John Chaney and Marcus Foster died before I was born. Comes direct. I used to go to John Chaney Sunny Hill Camp, so I spent some time with Coach Chaney, but like I wasn't a Division I player. I didn't play for him, but they influenced my father, and I think that's important because I don't live in a vacuum.
No, that's dope, man. Insightful, and you know, just being able to understand, you know, like the shoulders that you stand on.
The gurus did it, and all of it. We got all of the answers to what we need. The Ummah has all of the answers to what we need.
We gotta get out our own way, though.
That's facts.
That's part of the problem.
I ain't mad.
All right. So you might have a different spin on this because you deal with a lot of young people, and it might have changed. Your favorite Philly slang word?
You know, the easy one, John.
John, like everybody pick John.
Everybody pick John. I'm gonna go drawn. Drawn or drawing. Like
use drawn no more though.
But what I'm saying is,
kids don't know it.
They don't. They say something different, but it's just so much a part of the lexicon.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like
no, draw.
You draw.
They kind of try hard. That's a new John.
I said it one time. The kids were like, you don't know what
mid.
That is?
You hear mid?
Mid. I don't hear the hood say mid though.
Yo, you know I was thinking about the other day, man.
Bull's still around though.
Bull still around.
So when I think of you, I like it's the era, right? Where Philly people look like Philly people.
100%. Man, you want to go? I could put a polo shirt on now. Dog. Like, some butters and some Guess jeans. The 075 with the pencil pockets, dog. What?
It's just so different because all of these, like, I take my son to a camp in North Carolina, and he looked just like
Everybody else.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
You go like it's just so crazy.
That's what I mean about the Philly swag that I was talking about, like my pop experience that we experienced. Like, it's something about Philly. Like, you know it when you see it.
Anywhere you would go, you be like, oh, that boy from Philly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cheesesteaks or hoagies?
Cheesesteaks, D'Alessandro's.
D'Alessandro's.
Yeah.
Hoagies is dying, man.
My father take me. I got my first set of haircuts early, Ridge Avenue. My man John, we used to go all the way up to Ridge Avenue, turn on Henry every other Saturday. Yeah. D'Alessandro's, and we back at the crib with it.
Hoagies is dying, man.
They're done.
They done?
Can I say something controversial?
Go ahead.
Wawa killing hoagies.
I about to say that.
Ain't a real hoagie, dog.
But I don't think
it's too convenient.
All them different type of sandwiches, like back in the day, you really wasn't getting who was getting a lunch meat sandwich other than a hoagie.
Yeah, it's too much.
But now it's like it's all this other options, different bread.
It's like I could download any music and I listen to music like without like I could download anything right there before I had to search and research for stuff.
Nah, you right.
It's too easy.
All right. Menace to Society or South Central?
You J-Rock Daddy? You're OG Killer Bobby Johnson. We used to bid, another word. We bid on South Central so much. Menace was just more real. South Central was like, it was a little bit of comedy codish a little bit because of the, I mean, J-Rock tail was looking crazy back there. I'm going Menace, man.
I don't remember South Central.
You don't remember OG Bobby Johnson?
OG Bobby Johnson.
Oh yeah, I remember the boy.
I don't know no aces, no deuces.
right. But I don't remember the movie, but I remember now what you said. It gotta be Menace.
It gotta be Menace. Yeah.
Don't you ever come around.
Yeah.
You told me to come.
I don't wake up to about 2:30, 3:30.
I don't care what I said.
All right.
Yeah.
Tupac or Biggie?
So you almost can't even claim big no more, dog. I'm going big. East Coast boy. Yeah. I ain't really like Tupac growing up.
I just had this conversation.
I ain't even really like. I gained an appreciation for Pac later on. I mean, I was big, man. Like One More Chance remix. I played that on the Prime in '95. Going off on the Prime.
Listen,
that's an era. I had a Versace shirt.
Right.
Machiavelli CD might have been one of the best CDs ever, though.
I appreciate it now. Yeah.
Machiavelli, you think so?
See, I was a Nas boy.
I'm a super not.
Yeah, I was a Nas boy, and I didn't want to hear nothing from the West Coast.
So I'm gonna say something controversial.
Go ahead.
I'm not a big Kendrick fan, man.
Me neither.
Really?
I appreciate what Kendrick means to the culture.
He can't miss right now.
Don't like
I appreciate Kendrick, what he means to the culture.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm so East Coast.
Yeah.
And it's a particular
style
of rap.
Sure.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Look, I get it. I get it. I think he's a genius.
Yeah.
And I think what he brings to the table at this stage is almost unmatched. But I just like,
yeah, I feel you.
I be like,
I feel you.
And that's kind of how I was with Pac.
I feel you. Yeah.
Like, I don't think Pac was a great rapper.
The Machiavelli CD is
amazing. I think he made some great songs.
Nah, Machiavelli CD from top to bottom.
Yeah, at the time when
at the time is one of the few people, him and Biggie, Ready to Die, Don't Knock, that only their name really is on almost the whole writing. If you look at that, joint, it's I mean, the ones he got people on, obviously, but Biggie joint, that whole joint predominantly is his name.
Yeah, there was something about like I don't know at the time. I was like, nah, it's East Coast. Like I didn't see myself in Pac, so that was a bit of a struggle. But the older I got, I was like, oh, this boy got it. You know what I'm saying? Like I appreciate Pac now, and I appreciate Pac.
No. I bang with him. It's just
So. I feel you. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, maybe I had that thought about Kendrick a little bit.
It's not that I don't like him, but it's I'm so.
I do at times. I appreciate. I just want somebody to go bar for bar for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's go bar for bar.
Yeah. I feel hey, man. So, hey, this has been great, man. It's been great having this conversation. Third Party Podcast with the amazing Ameen Akbar. My host, Mukman Islam.
Guest host.
You say guest host?
Guest host.
Cut it out.
Substitute.
Host, listen.
Substitute.
Listen.
You been a sub? Because I'm a sub. Listen. I'm a sub. You been a sub? I'm a sub. I did 10 cents, but clearly I'm subbing.
Hey, Third Party Podcast, Season 3, Ameen Akbar.